Ben.
Well, welcome to episode 11 of Tuesday's Clean Sweep with the NSA. Hope everyone had a fun, safe weekend of the 4th of July holiday. It's good to be back at work, right? Of course. Today, we are honored to have Georgia Pacific on board. Georgia Pacific has had a program called COLO in place for a number of years. And what they're going to do is go over it today. A couple of the three things I want you to focus on that they're going to be kind of talking to you about are beyond the basics. Everyone kind of knows the basics. They're going to get into a little bit more of the usability of the COLO program. They're going to give you some idea on how to measure a return on your investment with the data to support it. And they're also going to show a little bit of client partnership, how it's powered by the COLO program to deliver that partnership for your BSCs and the client that you guys work with. So really excited about that. Remember to stay on to the end of the show. We have a raffle for $100 sponsored by GP. Thank you very much, Team GP. You see a handful of folks with GP on the phone. I'm going to turn it over to Rex, who's going to take over the show. And thank you, Georgia Pacific.
Awesome. Michael, thank you so much. And NSA team, thanks for having us. Thrilled to be here to talk a little bit about the COLO Smart Monitoring System. I'm sure I know we had a lot of attendees last week at our event down in Charlotte, but for those that weren't able to make it, the plan today is to give you a little bit of an overview of the features, functions, benefits of the system in pretty short order. And then I have a special guest on today, Trent McJunkin, facility manager, maintenance and facility manager down in Oshkosh Defense in Spartanburg, a current user of COLO, and he utilizes the Bud Group, which is also an NSA member. So we're going to talk to Trent a little bit towards the back half of the presentation and bring everything that we talk about in the front end of the presentation to life in the form of data in real life use. So really excited for what we have planned for today. Again, thanks for joining here today, the Clean Sweep webinar.
Hey, Rex, can I jump in and ask you one question before you get started? Are you going to mention anything about the Post-it note situation that happened at our event last week or a couple weeks ago?
Are you referring to the myth busting, Michael?
Yeah, where you guys pulled out the sample roll to and then put this Post-it note in, and by the time he pulled out a roll, he came back into the meeting, was going to take a Post-it note back in. I think that is just a great story to talk about how empty dispensers are identified and addressed so quickly.
Yeah, that's a huge part of this, right? We're going to talk about that in not only kind of generic form, but also in a real life form, to your point. So absolutely. I mean, this is all about avoiding outages in your dispensers and really understanding what's happening in your facility, not just from dispensers, but the other part of your responsibility is around cleaning the facility. And if you think about these systems, probably you're coming in, if you're not familiar with these systems, and you're thinking, okay, it tells me when the dispenser is empty. And, far from that, this system also does things like track traffic to help you understand where cleaning is needed, where it's not. So we're going to get into all that today and more. So with that, to kind of kick things off, I always like to say that, independent of the segment or industry you're in, restrooms play a major role in guest and employee experience. For your facility guests, cleanliness is crucial. They have a clean experience. Their perception is probably pretty good. On the other hand, if it's dirty, it's going to last, and it's going to leave a really bad impression for that person. Probably that's going to last, and they might even share it with other people. For your employees in the workplace or the employees of your clients, restrooms are also crucial. We have a lot of data that says the experience that those employees have in those restrooms actually builds a perception on how much their employee values them, their employer values them. So the fact of the matter is, no matter who's in these facilities, cleanliness is absolutely crucial, and that's the role of everybody's job on the phone today. So today, what we're going to talk about is remote monitoring technology in towel, tissue, soap, sanitizer dispensers. And this technology can enhance the guest experience through cleanliness and well-stocked restrooms, while also decreasing the frequency of maintenance, giving time back to your team members, lowering the overall product consumption by diverting waste from landfills, and provide data with widespread impacts, including supply chain optimization, clean team logistics, and much more. So with that, let's jump right in. So I always like to remind folks that these are the dispensers we're talking about. And really, to the naked eye or the user, they won't really experience anything different other than guaranteed operation. So we've built Colo on our InMotion and Compact branded dispensers. These dispensers for over a decade have provided high reliability, and in return, we've gotten great customer satisfaction from these dispensers. When we built Colo 10 years ago, we knew we had that reputation to uphold. And so we built a system that is exactly that. We're at an over 90% satisfaction rating, and our reliability is industry leading. So we always like to start with the foundation, which is the dispensers. And of course, all of you are familiar with GP dispensers. What you get with the GP dispensers is all still included. However, we're going to talk today about how Colo can enhance that experience even further. So what is Colo? Again, to the eyes of your customer, they will simply experience aesthetically pleasing dispensers that provide an elevated hygiene experience. But to your team members and clients, they will see and experience a whole lot more with Colo. Sensors in these dispensers enable remote monitoring of things like restroom traffic, dispenser fill, function, and power status, dispenser outage, frequency, duration, and cause, team member checks, response times and alert engagement, product consumption, and waste generated down to the inch. So what does all that mean from a functionality standpoint, particularly for the clean team members? Well, if you think about managing a facility, there's the dispensers you have to deal with. And today, the common practice is probably going around the facility and looking at each and every dispenser multiple times a day, checking the restroom in coordinates with that. And really what they're doing most of the time is trying to go find a problem to then address. With this system, with the input of traffic information and real-time dispenser monitoring, you can really start to go do more important tasks with that staff and then only react to restrooms when a traffic threshold is being met or dispensers are nearing empty or are unfunctional for some reason. The other things we measure, outages are one of the key things that we're trying to avoid in this business, right? That packs a bad impression on any employee or guest in a facility. So by measuring when those outages are occurring and for how long they're occurring and in which bathroom they're occurring, we can tailor resources and even adjust settings in the system. For instance, if we have one dispenser that's having a high number of outages, we can actually go in and say, okay, let's send the alert when there's 20% product remaining in that dispenser opposed to 12%. And so we measure all that by way of response times. So for each alert that gets sent out, we can measure how long it takes the staff to react to that alert and only adjust those settings to optimize both staff time and minimizing the outages. Finally, staff engagement in the platform. That's really a measurement of clean team members, how they're engaging the platform, how often they're logging in. Are they reverting to historical behavior where they go in and just check a dispenser, or are they actually waiting for the alerts while doing other more important tasks to actually perform that task? The other thing worth noting here within our Colo platform, there's really two platforms involved with Colo. The dashboard is the larger of the two screens, and that's really meant for management. So that's giving you a holistic facility view. And it really is far more data than the individual cleaner needs in their specific area of responsibility. So it's giving things like all the alerts across the facility or facilities. It's giving you traffic summaries. It's giving you indication if there's above average activity in any given room, site health, and much, much more. There's also self-reporting settings to go in and adjust, when the alerts get sent out, when are traffic thresholds, what are tasks that you want your team to go in and check off at given times or given traffic thresholds. So a whole lot of information. On the contrary, the application on the bottom right on the cell phone is really designed for the cleaners. And so what we've done here is really simplified that down to an individual cleaner's work area. And so that individual cleaner is only receiving alerts that they can react to in their area of responsibility. And what we're trying to alleviate is them being confused from all this other data that's extremely impactful to management, but not necessarily impactful to their individual role. So just wanted to differentiate those two platforms. The last thing I'll say on this slide is this QR code, and we'll send this out as a follow-up. This QR code, if you scan it with your phone, you can actually go in and experience the app, kind of a test environment in your free time, and see the different types of alerts and how you may interact with that system in real life. Now, the other key thing I wanted to mention, just this is a really big differentiator for the Colo platform in comparison to some of our other key competitors in the marketplace. And this is just one of many, but the network with Colo is really something that's exciting to talk about. So with any connected system, obviously you need connectivity to bring the data from the devices to a central platform up to the cloud where it can be accessed by the applications. We partnered about 5 years ago with a company called MachineQ, which is actually a Comcast company. And the beautiful thing about our network deployment is that not only do we have a professional networking company deploying that network, but we also have them helping us manage security conversations. And as you all know, your clients probably become pretty scared when you start bringing up networking and adding network infrastructure into their facilities. This partnership has really helped us bridge that gap and have very sophisticated conversations with network or IT folks at various types of clients in the financial industry, manufacturing industry, you name it, to get past that IT threshold. And quite honestly, they've actually been excited to hear about it and excited to deploy it to help power other things. Now, finally, on that note, this network is also scalable. So this diagram off to the right-hand side of your screen, not only does this network power Colo, but many of our clients benefit from the standpoint of putting Colo in as a smart restroom solution. But then with this network, the same network, they can actually add on other sensor types, everything from leak detection to trash can fill sensors to temperature, vibration, humidity, even pest control. And one of the things I like to talk about with BSC partners of ours is, one of the best ways you guys can get into a client and then really expand your services is IoT. If you think about adding, it's sometimes hard to say, but it's hard services to your soft services, what are traditionally what get you in the door, things like pest control and asset tracking. If all of a sudden you're the ringleader for those type of solutions coming into a facility, you become a lot more of a foundation and staple for how that facility is run far and wide. And so I like to encourage BSCs to think through that in terms of adding on other solutions to solidify their position within a client and only strengthen what they're doing holistically for that facility. And this platform is exactly that. Traditionally, what happens is one IoT sensor goes in, it brings a proprietary network, and then the next IoT sensor comes in, they bring their own network. And so we call it closet creep in the industry. And so this is a really fascinating solution, one network that powers a whole plethora of IoT sensors. Lastly, we have other integrations, including flush valves, plumbing with Toto, a leader in the space with toilet and flush valves. So we can do faucets, when are toilets being clogged, how much water is being used, and all that can integrate right into the Colo app for one platform alerts across the entirety of the restroom. The other one mentioned here is Avius, and that really is tenant or occupant feedback. So in the event that you're reacting to all the alerts with Colo, you're getting to the dispensers before they run out, you're hitting traffic thresholds for cleaning. This is one more layer of kind of feedback from visitors to say, despite all of that, there's still something wrong in this restroom, and we can actually integrate that into the application to say, hey, you got a negative feedback in this restroom, please go visit it and see what's going on. So really powerful side here, a lot more than just smart restroom, and we've tried to really become a knowledge expert across all things IoT throughout a facility, and we really want to partner with you all on that. All right, moving ahead here. Just kind of wrapping up features, functions, benefits. We're going to get into some examples with Trent here in a minute, but I always like to share what are the high level value benefits of a system like Colo. The first is quite obvious, but it's actually pretty amazing. The labor optimization story, with over 40,000 devices out in the marketplace collecting data, we found that only 5% of the time that your cleaning staff is going to the restroom, they're actually doing critical behavior. And so 95% of the time they're going into a restroom to find no issues whatsoever. So with this system, we're legally able to claim that we can provide back 95% of unnecessary restroom or dispenser checks, allowing you to reallocate labor to more valuable tasks. The second, waste savings. Mentioned this earlier. Historical behavior, go in, see a small stub roll in a dispenser, remove that, put a fresh roll in because you're not scheduled to be back there for quite some time. We measure that prematurely removed product as waste. So we can actually measure that behavior over time, provide on-time alerts for replenishment, and lower your waste down to zero, all while using all the product that you purchase each and every day. Third, enhanced restroom experience. Claim says that we can keep dispensers full and functional 99.5% of the time. It goes beyond that too, right? All this reallocated labor time can be spent cleaning other areas of impression more effectively. And so really beyond just the dispenser staying up, running all the time, the cleanliness of the overall facility gets enhanced with this system as well. And then finally, I love this stat, 88%, I think it's actually north of 90% with our latest CSAT scores of our Colo users would recommend this system to another business. And this we take a lot of pride in because our customer success team, which is a component of the system, works with each of our clients to make sure that they are embracing the system, adopting the system, and we use the data to celebrate their success versus any kind of punitive way. And by doing so, they see the tool as an enablement tool and really start to buy in and use it more and more. So really proud of that last claim. Like I said, we're going to pause here for questions quick and then jump into some real life stats with Trent. So with that, I know I have a couple folks monitoring the chat. Any questions coming in at this point in time?
I don't see any, Rex, but I do have one. So can you talk through adoption? So I'd imagine in a large office building, the incumbent may have hundreds of dispensers, right? So what does that process look like to pull dispensers down, put them up, and make sure that the team's fully trained and engaged when it comes to adopting our system?
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. So we try and make this very seamless, right? We have some dispensers that we can retrofit. So if it's existing GP dispensers, we can swap out just simple components. Otherwise, within the Colo pricing, which is a monthly fee per dispenser, all the dispensers and equipment networking is all included. So there's no big substantial upfront fee to adopt Colo. We put the system in, we have, that includes all the free installation. Put the system in, we run it dry, and we do what we call a silent period. So for 30 or 40 days, we won't send any alerts to the clean team. And the reason for that is we'll get a baseline of data of pre-Colo behavior. So how many outages are we seeing in a facility? How long does it take to react to an outage? What's the waste levels? What's the consumption levels? And we'll get all that baseline data so that when we go in, actually the customer success team that I mentioned a minute ago, they come on site, do an in-person training with all shifts in any kind of facility where the system's deployed, get them trained, walk around the facility with them, make sure they're feeling comfortable with the app. At that point, we then start the Colo alerts to cleaners, and we can use that baseline data to compare our ever improving performance by using the system to compare to what would be the case if Colo wasn't enabled. So the key thing there, Joe, is that the customer success team is a dedicated agent to each of our clients. We call them an extension of our customer's team, and they really lean in. I think Trent's going to talk about his experience with that team here in a minute too. So appreciate that question. So with that, let's hop in and hear from Trent a bit here, and Trent are going to go back and forth and share some stories with everybody today. So I'd like to welcome Trent to the call. Trent adopted Colo about 2 years ago. He's been an avid user and partner. He uses the Bud Group, so a proud NSA member. Trent, welcome to the call. Let's jump in and let me ask you this to kind of kick things off. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your role and your facility, just to give folks an idea of what you're up to each and every day?
All right, thanks, Rex. I'm Trent Junkin. I'm the facilities and maintenance manager for Oshkosh Defense here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We have over 1,000 employees that come to our site every day across 3 shifts, over 900,000 square feet. So we are very busy. We are an automotive manufacturing plant here. I'm responsible for all of the building services, as well as equipment maintenance and security. So I have a lot going on, and this has been a great tool to help give me some time back.
So on that note, Trent, you have a really interesting story on how you even started exploring smart restroom. Do you mind sharing that?
Sure. Yeah, it's not a great story, but I'll never forget the first time that we had some high level executives come see this new plant. They're excited to see what the future holds. It's going to be great. So I'm relatively new to the company, still trying to make my mark. And everybody knows if you're in this business, when high level visitors come to your building, the margin for error disappears. So I was focused. I was nervous. I was determined. Everything needed to go smoothly. So this executive and his entourage showed up at the building, and first place they go, hit the restroom, of course, very normal. But then he comes out in his nice suit, holding his hands out in front of him, and he says, "No paper towels." I didn't get a lecture. I wasn't scolded, but I felt it. That was a message to me. So it was at that point that I realized if we're going to scale this to a 24/7 operation with over 1,000 people, I have to have the right tools in the toolbox.
I love it. I think that story can resonate with all of us, right? It's a pain point that frankly drove us to create Colo from the very beginning. So that's awesome, Trent. Thanks. So I also thought this was really fascinating, and Trent shared with me, and frankly, he and his customer success manager and I met. I said, tell me some interesting things about your journey with Colo. And the first thing he said was, when it comes to training, we really learn some things. And this is not, this quote right here kind of speaks to it, right? Whenever you adopt a new technology, it's hard to jump right in. It's somewhat terrifying. You know that there's good in it, but it's a matter of getting that application down. So Trent, I guess tell me a little bit about this picture here and your journey with customer success and how you guys got up and running on Colo.
So my background is manufacturing, and I've came up through my career working on equipment, making sure that it works reliably for the organization. And I started to realize that, we don't do a lot of that on the janitorial side. That I've seen. So I started to kind of take my manufacturing ideas and work with the Bud Group, and they're a great partner for us. And so, what if I were to help you train your cleaners like we train people in a manufacturing facility? It can be low to no pressure, and they can actually work on the same dispensers that they're going to see in the field when it counts. So we got one of my maintenance guys together, and we got all the dispensers that you see in our facility today, and put those on this board. So every new hire that comes in for the Bud Group at our facility, this is their dedicated training area. So they get to learn Colo and they get to learn GP dispensers in real time, and they don't have to take up, a bathroom that has to stay closed for cleaning while they're learning how to get this dispenser in or the product in.
I think that's awesome. It's just a way to innovate on site. And I know Ansley is your customer success manager. Obviously, she's been involved in kind of building this test center, but also the initial training coming on site. How often are you guys engaging with Ansley, your customer success manager, and how does she kind of change the paradigm and everything?
She has been phenomenal. She's done a great job for myself and the Bud Group. If we have a question, we can just send her a message, and she is right back to us. She's really helped us look at things from a really data-driven perspective, and also give us some insights on how we could be using the software differently. So having somebody from the GP side has really gave us that another layer of depth.
Love it. So with that, we've talked kind of theoretically about all this, but really at the end of the day, this system needs to generate value. So wanted to share a couple slides and get Trent's feedback on really the progress he and Mitch at the Bud Group are making across the entire team with this system and the value they're realizing from it. So a couple data slides here to talk through. Starting here with waste. So I always like to emphasize waste data is not just about landfill diversion, but also lowering consumption and therefore spend, right? Using everything you buy. So Trent, obviously you have all made a lot of progress here, maximizing the usage of the product. When you started to have the ability to measure this waste, were you surprised? What kind of stood out to you from this standpoint?
Yeah, I was surprised, how much we're actually changing out product that doesn't need to be changed out. And the cleaners, once you show them this data, they also were surprised. This is how they've always done things, and this is how we do business in every building, everywhere. But when they're met with the data, it really changes things.
Yeah, it's clear when you start to actually use all the product, $5,400 of savings in just a handful of months. That's quite impressive. Now, the other slide I wanted to share, and this is interesting. Tell me quickly, we're getting close on time, but you and Mitch at the Bud Group actually use traffic data coming through the system as well as alert data and response time to help you determine where to put headcount and frankly, how many headcount you should have with your growing employee base of 50 per week, I believe, right?
Yeah, so we use this data based off how many people we have in the building and how often do we need to clean or respond to different areas of the facility. If only a handful of people go in there, we don't need to clean it as often as something where hundreds of people are going in there a day. And that kind of helps us drive to avoid that broken window theory. People don't walk in and see trash overflowing or see that, nobody really cares because there's, splashes all over the mirror. So it really helped us dial in that customer experience, even in a manufacturing setting.
And what's fascinating with this data for the audience here is the bars represent the number of alerts that get in across their entire facility's dispensers. The numbers across the lines, that's actually how long it takes them in minutes to react to each of those alerts. So as they get busier, they're enabling the system even further to actually lower their response time and become more effective by using the data, move resources around the facility, add on new resources only when necessary. And so without this type of guidance, Trent, I have to believe that you guys would be working off a gut feeling or complaints in some cases to react. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm really big on data-driven decisions. So I knew the Bud Group can't come to me and say, I feel like the building isn't getting clean. We need to add another person. And I can't sell that idea either. We have to come with data, and Colo gives us exactly what we need to drive the business in a responsible way.
That's awesome. And just finally here, I know we're right at time, but another fascinating data set here, 92% reduction of complaints avoided in May. So all those complaints you're actually avoiding with that proactive cleaning and alert base. So well done, Trent. And thanks for sharing for a couple of minutes here your experience with Colo.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So with that, folks, that wraps up the session. I do want to pass it back to, I believe, Michael. But any questions or anything, feel free to pop in the chat. We'll also send out our contact information. Feel free to reach out if I can help in any way. Happy to do so.
Thank you, Rex. Trent, thank you for joining us and sharing your experiences. 92% reduction in complaints. I don't know that you could close on a better slide than that. So we appreciate that. Thanks for everyone else joining. I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea for our weekly drawing.
All right, thanks everybody. I'll do the drawing real quick and thank y'all for joining today. Don't forget next week, Tuesday, we have our clean sweep, and it's going to be about what's new with the NSA. So it'd be a really good one to tune into and bring other folks from your company and make sure you're catching up on everything new that is offered for your membership. Let's see. So the winner today is Sean Pierre with OpenWorks.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Congrats,
Sean,
Sean.
and thank you for joining us today. I will connect with you after this call sometime today and get you your prize. But I appreciate everybody joining today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thank you.
week.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.